Oh, wait a minute. So last week.
I got a lot of sun
Ready?
yesterday.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. Are there any additions to the agenda?
There are no additions.
Very good. Council Garza, will you read the closed session item into the record?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Your only item for closed session today is one that was not discussed last week, and that's under Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with your labor negotiators, your agency designated representatives are Director Alba Gomez, Susan Carter, and Joel Brigade. The employee organization is all units. The unrepresented employees are Assistant Director of Human Resources Manager, Senior Human Resources Analyst 1 and 2, and the Division Director of General Services. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this item?
Where's that voice?
Hearing none, we will now go into closed session. See you soon. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors. Today is June 15th, 2021. Council Garza, is there anything to report out of closed session?
Chair, there are no reportable actions from your closed session this morning.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any individuals that one of my colleagues would like to open and close the meeting in memory of?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Loretta Thomas, classmate from Sierra High School. I didn't know she passed away. I guess she passed away a couple of months ago. I didn't even know it. Anybody ever been to the Fork? She's a cook there. I'm sure Matt Beavers. Oh, there he is. He's probably known her not quite as long as I have because he's just a young pup. But she was a cook there at Forks for 100 years, and her dad was a forester for the Forest Service, and he planted every kind of tree you can think of right there on 223 and 426. If you're driving down to Bass Lake from 426 or from Norfolk on 223, house on both sides of the road they actually own. Apple orchard there across, and all those different type pine trees and fir trees and everything else. Anyway, great lady, great friend, and be well missed, especially at the Forks. Foxes will miss her very much. She never bothered nobody.
Thank you. We'll now open with the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. We have Pastor Dennis Sylvester of First Assembly of God Church who will deliver the invocation, and I'm going to ask Supervisor Frazier to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this privilege. Good morning, everyone. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we address you and bow ourselves before you. We stop and take these few minutes to recognize you and invite you in the midst of our business. We recognize that we probably won't do our best without your help, so we invite you. We thank you for this opportunity, for the privilege of living in this area. Ask your blessing upon all that's said and done today and your help in the midst of us. Amen.
Ready? Go. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice.
Thank you. We'll now move on to public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet of the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record. Do we have any public comment? It looks like we do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber, Madera County resident and your Chief of Development Services. I wanted to take a brief moment this morning and discuss a situation that we had, a maintenance issue out in the MD-10A Madera Ranchos water system. We had the new Fender well in MD-10A experienced a motor failure in the well late Sunday evening. Public Works crews were on site working on that well Sunday evening and into Monday morning. We've been successful in locating a motor to replace that, and our contractor, Madera Pumps, is on site this morning, and we'll be pulling the old motor and pump from that well and placing a new motor and pump in. Once that's complete, we will chlorinate and flush that well and move to get it back online. The state requires 2 clean test samples before we can have that put back into production. We anticipate that well being back online in back in line in 5 to 10 days from today. And we've also, in addition to the new Fender, Public Works commenced rehabilitating the Charlton well. We did that approximately 2 months ago, commenced that work. That well has been offline since 2017. And so we have gone in and we've seen some very good progress to date working with our contractor, again, Madera Pumps, on rehabilitating that well. In fact, the development pump is on site today and they are developing that well. We anticipate getting anywhere from 400 to 600 gallons a minute out of that well production. Again, it's been offline since 2017. That rehab project we anticipate being done in the next 14 to 21 days or 2 to 3 weeks for Charlton to be back online for the first time in almost 4 years. We're also at this time out there in MD-10A, we will be flushing the Kensington well. That has been offline due to high manganese levels, which is a level 2 contamination at the state level. It has high manganese. It's what causes the brown water out there and some of the staining. And so we will be flushing that well, pulling some samples, and getting that really on an instance. If we need to, we can put that well back into production. We would have to provide notice to every resident in that system before that well went online. So there's a lot of work that's happening out there. You know, these things do happen. We have maintenance issues on a regular basis, and MD-10A is not alone in that. The Parksdale community, we had a water system situation occur out there last week. They went to a stage 4 level of watering, which was no outdoor watering use. That well, we successfully deepened that pump in Parksdale yesterday and is back online. So these things do happen. I did also want to talk briefly. We just got news actually this morning, about 5 minutes ago, email on our contractor for the Berkshire well that Supervisor Frazier has been pushing for, and your board entered into a contract with Emmett's Excavating to do that new Berkshire well in MD-10A. They will be on site commencing work for the well next week. Pipeline's been moving and working through. In fact, there's an item on your board's agenda dealing with accepting right-of-way for that pipeline. And before Regina stops me, I'm gonna move on. So there is again a lot of work with that. Also, a big thanks to this board and especially Supervisor Frazier and his leadership. We were successful in receiving additional grant funds for a treatment plant for the MD-10A system. That is under design right now. That would treat manganese. which then, that whole Kensington well issue, we no longer have that. We can turn that well back into production. So we anticipate under construction this time next year, that new treatment plant, all grant funding. Supervisor Frazier was really pushing for from our partners at the Department of Drinking Water. So I just wanted to provide that update. We are working around the clock out there. It's going to be a busy summer for our public works crews on the operations and maintenance side of our 30 community water systems that they run. So with that, I'll step down. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank Public Works staff. While people were upset that this happened, all the feedback I got was that Public Works was responsive and taking the calls and letting people know what was going on, not hiding anything, and that's important. That it was transparent, and this mechanical breakdown. I wanted everyone to know this isn't a water quality issue. This is a mechanical breakdown. Things do break down. It's just like when it gets hot and you see the air conditioner repairman running all over the place because it's being
Can't get them to come to your house.
Yeah, it's being overloaded that hasn't been taking that kind of load in a long time, and so it's about 2 weeks too early because we would have had the Charlton well back up, but it happens, and I just appreciate the quick work and response by Public Works to find the motor, get somebody out there, and still work with the public and create that transparency of what was going on. So thank you very much, and we're working on it. I'd like to get kind of what you said is written down so that we can get that information out to people as well.
Absolutely. And Supervisor Frazier, thank you. I had this lovely sheet that Mr. Toller put together for me this morning. So on the new fender, that well is drilled to a depth of 535 feet. The static water level is at 326 feet. Pump level's at 400 feet. So again, to your point, this is not a quantity or quality issue of water. We simply had a mechanical breakdown and failure, and we're on site today getting it done. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Standing water.
326.
326. Pumping level is at when the pump's on, water drops down 350. So 356.
Perfect.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Jared Carter, Public Works. I just wanted to report out from our household hazardous waste event this last weekend up at Yosemite High School. We saw about 391 people come through that event with disposal of material, which is up from about 60. It's up about 60 from the last few years that we've done it. So, very successful event. Don't have all the numbers on exactly quantities of things that were disposed of, but it went very well. All the reports that I got from our contract haulers, Red Rock and Amadco, who were part of that event, said that everything went very smoothly and everybody was pretty happy with it. So,
What's the possibilities of having another one this
uh,
year?
I'm sorry.
Another one this year?
This year, we can look into that and see what we can do with that.
Some people said they turned around and left because there's so much a long line.
Yeah, no, it definitely does get a long line, for sure. So yeah, we can definitely look at trying to see
I'd
maybe
like
we
to
can
look
do.
at it and see if it's possible. I mean, it's very successful, and one person who won one in Norfolk, and I said, well, that's probably not going to happen, but if you tell them, go to Oakhurst.
Yeah.
More centralized. But I think it is time that we maybe have another one now. I mean, you get 391 and people got turned away. If you're there at 105, you don't get to do it.
Yeah. No, we could definitely look at potentially doing additional events and how that might work.
Thank you very much. It's very successful. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday a day late. Happy birthday to Maddie. Yeah, it's about time.
Thank you very much. I finally arrived. So, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, I have Ken Howenstein and Mark Kilner. Mark Kilner's from Rancho Station 19 here. Mr. Burton from Burton's Fire, they wanted to make a donation to Station 19 of Madera Rancho, so I'll turn the mic over to them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ken Hallenstein of Burton's Fire and Rosenbauer, and on behalf of our teams at Burton's Fire and Rosenbauer, we're excited to present a donation in the amount of $4,500 to the Madera Support Fire Unit Station 19 for their continuing support of the health and safety of your firefighters for this county. So we appreciate what they are doing to support your county.
Can you get right here? Come over here a little closer, so I can get a good picture of it. You want to get one, put it on. Thank you. Burton, is it by any chance? Or? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good. Is there any more public comment from the
Yes.
public in-house? How about on WebEx? And I'll go to you, Supervisor.
Yeah.
Any public comment on WebEx? Nope. Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, I just thank you. I've been seeing on Facebook all these bears. Everybody's been having problems with bears. Well, I had it last night at my house, and they got my garbage. I got 5 different garbage cans down at the barn and up at the house both, with chicken feed, peacock feed, and what have you in it, horse feed, and he got in every single one of them. So and another thing, yesterday was Flag Day, and the Elks Club had a great celebration at the Wani Park Veterans Memorial there. So great day. So that's all I got to say.
All right. Very good. Thank you. We're coming up on a little bit of a time crunch. We have a public hearing at 10:30. We have consent calendar, and then we have some presentations. So if it's okay with my colleagues and honoring those who we're going to present proclamations to, I'd like to move to items 6A, 6B, 6C, then go to our public hearing, and then go to consent, if that's okay.
Okay with me.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and go to 6A. Supervisor Frazier.
Yes, thank you. So I'm very pleased to be able to do this presentation to a young man, Justin Bowe, who during the pandemic had reached out to me with his ideas of what he wanted to do to serve his community and his country, and he wanted to apply for the different armed services academies. And I was extremely excited after meeting with him and seeing the type of person he was and how much the community meant to him, what he was doing at his school, what he was doing in the community to make this a better place, to find out that he was accepted to the West Point Military Academy for the class of 2025 coming in. And when things like this happen, I think it's important that we take the time to recognize his achievements, as well as thank him and his family for choosing a life of service and serving our community and protecting our way of life. Like I told him after meeting him, I was excited to see that someone of his caliber still cared and wanted to serve our country, and this is the type of leadership that we need now more than ever. And so I'm just proud to be a little part of his journey to here, and can't wait to see the amazing things that he does. And just want to tell him from our community how proud we are of him, and that we wish him well as he goes through the West Point Academy, and then after that. So with that, I'd like to bring Justin Bowe up to present him with this certificate of recognition from all of us.
What's up? Okay, yep, sure.
And Tom Justin and his family live in the Ranchos, but he goes to Minarets High. So it was kind of, it was a 1 and a 5 together, kind of.
Can't beat that.
Yep.
Very good. We'll move on to item 6B, the presentation of a proclamation naming the month of June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month in Madera
That's
County.
me.
You've been abusing.
Abuse me every day.
Anybody 59 or over?
That's me.
Letty, we have a long time.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board, and County staff. My name is Steve Duckworth. I'm Deputy Director, Social Services, and I'm accompanied today by some of our staff from our Adult Services Division, including our eligibility worker, Andrea Juarez, social workers, Mirna Ramirez, and Julie Dodd, and Program Manager, Andrea Martinez. June is recognized in California as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. It was proclaimed that after the UN declared this day, June 15th, as as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. So it's our good pleasure to stand with you all to proclaim this month as Elder Abuse Awareness Month and to raise awareness for elder abuse in Madera County. Around the world, many parts of the world, including here at home, the elderly is the fastest growing segment of the population. The California Department of Aging predicts that in Madera County, the elderly population will increase by over 180% by the year 2060. And the population over
I'm already there.
You're already there? Maybe on this one, the population over 85 is going to increase by over 450% by that same time frame. So if you remember back when you were a kid, they taught you about population pyramids. They were like this. That's no longer what they can teach anymore. The population pyramids are now rectangular, right? So this has huge implications for our department, because our mission is to protect and serve the populations, the elderly, dependent adults, protect them, make sure that they're safe. In 2020, we responded to 850 calls to our hotline for elder abuse. That's a marginal increase from 2019, and we think maybe the pandemic had something to do with that, but pandemic or no pandemic, our social workers were out in the field following up and investigating those referrals of abuse. Before we conclude, we have a short video we're going to show you that our team developed and we encourage the public to go to our internet page and our Facebook pages. You can see the video and get other information about how to spot signs of elder abuse, where to call, what to do if you see it. So with that, I'll turn it over for the video.
Hit mute.
I just hit the mic button. Oh, no. Okay.
Jay's coming. Your whisper's nice. Right? We need an interpreter who can read lips to sit there and talk what she's saying.
abandonment, physical abuse, sexual abuse. In 2011, the United Nations officially designated June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Then, in 2015, California proclaimed the entire
There we go. Like uptown.
In 2011, the United Nations officially designated June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Then, in 2015, California proclaimed the entire month of June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. The Madera County Department of Social Services invites individuals, families, and organizations to join with us in raising awareness of elder abuse in Madera County. The simplest way for you to raise awareness is to wear purple in June. Purple is the color of Elder Abuse Awareness Month because it is associated with dignity, respect, and royalty, which are the same words to describe how we should treat our elders. Elder abuse takes many forms, including neglect, financial abuse, abandonment, physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental suffering, financial loss, and isolation. You may think that elder abuse only takes place in institutions such as nursing facilities, but sadly, elder abuse often occurs in the home at the hands of a family member, such as a spouse or adult child. Some abusers simply prey upon the vulnerable, while others feel overwhelmed by the responsibilities of taking care of someone who needs so much help. Elder abuse under California law can be prosecuted as a misdemeanor or a felony and is punishable by up to 4 years of jail or prison. There were 850 referrals of elder abuse investigated in Madera County in 2020. To raise awareness, 850 purple flags were planted on the DSS campus in June 2021.
Financial abuse from online scams is a rapidly growing form of abuse. Organized rings of internet scammers target the elderly to drain bank accounts, charge credit cards, and transfer property. Elders are also often susceptible to neglect, which occurs when a caretaker fails to fulfill caretaker obligations. Self-neglect occurs when the elder is no longer able to perform essential self-care. Often, the elderly person refuses to seek assistance due to being in denial, feeling ashamed about needing help, or worried about losing independence.
Here are some warning signs that abuse or neglect may be happening. The elder no longer participates in activities they previously enjoyed. The elder is uncharacteristically dirty or disheveled. The elder has physical signs of neglect, which includes bruising and/or sores. Or the elder has unexplained financial needs and are not able to meet their monthly obligations.
The elderly are the fastest growing segment of the population in California. It is no surprise, therefore, that elder abuse is a growing problem. Help is available for victims if concerned people like you spot the warning signs and make a call to report abuse and seek help for the elderly. To report suspected abuse, call the Madera County Adult Protective Services 24-hour hotline at 559-675-7839. Or if you are reporting abuse or neglect in a long-term care facility, residential care, or skilled nursing facility, call the Fresno Madera Ombudsman at 559-224-9177. By raising awareness and reporting whenever abuse is suspected, we can all help curb elder abuse in Madera County.
I would like to thank the Board of Supervisors for proclaiming June as Elder Abuse and Neglect Awareness Month, and to our dedicated staff who work with this vulnerable population each and every day, and to our community as a whole for their diligence in identifying and reporting suspected elder abuse and/or neglect. Together, we make a difference.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you. What a great video. Could you guys put that on Facebook so I can share it? What it is now? Oh, you seen it? Okay, well, they're ahead of me on that. I'll share it on all mine. And boy, I didn't know we had so many actors in Madera County. Wow. You got extra pay for this? Huh? Every time it shows, you get a little bit of money for that. Royalties, that's right, yeah. I used to get royalties for a thing I did one time.
Okay, well, thank you, Supervisor.
Well, thank you guys.
And Steve, thank you for the great presentation. I'd like to thank everybody involved in fighting elder abuse. And the statistic that you talked about, 850 cases were reported. We know that there are hundreds more that are not reported. Right. And so it's something that we all need to be aware of and keep in mind. And what we'd like to do, I've got a proclamation I'd like to give you and your department. So I'd like to have everybody gather here. I'd like to have my colleagues join me, and we'll hand over the proclamation.
Okay.
Is there any public comment in regarding Elder Abuse Awareness Month?
Thank you.
Nobody? Okay, there you go. Okay, moving on to 6C. We have a proclamation naming June 15, 2021 as a day of recognition for the Office of the Public Guardian, Public Administrator of Madera County.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Diaz, and I'm one of the deputy directors with the Department of Social Services. And let me begin by saying thank you for the opportunity to spotlight the tremendous efforts of our Public Guardian's Office throughout this last year. They help serve a very vulnerable population on a daily basis. I've had the honor of working in the arena of adult services for more than 20 years here in Madera County, and I've been privileged to be a part of a team that makes services for older adults in Madera County accessible and purposeful. Although assignments change and workloads transition based on our needs and the needs of the community, my passion for this work has not diminished in any way. Over the last year of the pandemic, as the pandemic has raged on, so has our team, taking care of our vulnerable adults. The Public Guardian's Office has served more than 200 conservatees, and helped numerous conservators, along with many payee clients that we also assist throughout the year on a weekly basis, helping them with their finances. So we have a lot, and I know you guys have a lot on there, so I'm not going to read all of that, but I did want to highlight the staff that I brought with me today. So I have Veronica Moran. She's a senior mental health case manager with behavioral health, and she has worked with behavioral health for about 20 years, specializing in case management, serving a diverse population of our community, and collaborating with correctional institution, courts, hospitals, and placement facilities. For the last 5 years, her primary role has been assigning the Public Guardian LPS conservatees with all of their therapeutic, daily, and legal needs. I also have Laura Jimenez, who is one of our new Deputy Public Guardians. I'm very excited to add that position this year, and it was much needed, so we appreciate the support in that area. Laura has worked with the Department of Social Services for about 13 years, primarily as an eligibility worker, but has most recently been promoted. Prior to this, though, she did help in the aged, blind, and disabled individuals Medi-Cal caseload. She started her role about 6 months ago and has been focusing on case management and probate conservatees. Not here is our Chief Deputy Public Guardian that most of you know, Mardell Timby Chin. And Mardell does a tremendous job running our office, and she actually took a very much needed vacation this week, so we let her go for this today. And then Blanca Valdez also is one of our Deputy Public Guardians. Both have been with our department for more than 10 years and serving this very vulnerable population.
Very good, thank you. Are there any comments from my colleagues?
Keep up the great work.
All right. Are there
All
any
of us.
Any comments from the public regarding the Office of the Public Guardian? Hearing none, we do have a proclamation we'd like to present, so please join us here and we'll. Moving on, we have our public hearings, and the first one is item 7A, the Board of Equalization. I believe we have somebody that may want to, or shall we just go ahead and announce that the meeting is going to be, we're going to postpone the hearing until July 6th?
I move that we postpone the hearing to July 6th, 2021 at 10:30 a.m. in this building.
All right, roll call vote. Are there any public comment from the public regarding this item? Hearing or seeing none? Roll call.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good, thank you. Moving on to item 7B. This is a hearing for the Rio Mesa Boulevard project. And it looks like we have Mr. Trieber, who may be introducing, or Jamie, or somebody.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jamie Bax with Community and Economic Development. I do have Bob Delp of Benchmark Resources, who is our staff consultant on this project, and Matt Trieber, Chief of Development Services. Jared Carter from Public Works has also been assisting us on this project. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob. And Rick Hansen, I apologize, of eCore Consulting as well, who prepared the EIR. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bob, and he has a presentation for you. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. I'm Bob Delp with Benchmark Resources. I want to do a brief presentation of the project and the environmental review process. So the project is located north of Avenue 12 to the east of State Route 41, between Avenue 12 and Tesoro Viejo. The project would construct Rio Mesa Boulevard north of Avenue 12 to connect to the Tesoro Viejo community plan area. It would construct about a 2.5 mile of secondary arterial and provide utility corridors. The project would be constructed in 2 phases. Phase 1 would build a 2-lane road, and the second phase would then widen that 2-lane road to 4 lanes. Project also includes bike lanes, sidewalks, landscaping and lighting, and then utility infrastructure, both in the Rio Mesa Boulevard alignment and 2 linked utility corridors north of the alignment. The project would be implemented or is being implemented through a memorandum of understanding between the county and Tesoro Viejo partners that are listed here on the slide. That MOU was executed in November of 2019. That requires the Tesoro Viejo group to fund the design and construction, and obligates the county to obtain the permits, but still funded through Tesoro Viejo. And then ultimately the rights of way for the road would be conveyed to the county once it's constructed. To implement the project, there are subsequent agreements that would be necessary between the county and the Tesoro Viejo group, and that would be established subsequent to your approval today. There are several additional permits and approvals needed once the board makes its decision here from various state and federal agencies listed on this slide. I won't go through all of them, but those would be obtained before construction could begin. And then as a component of the project, the official plan line for Rio Mesa Boulevard that was adopted by the board in 2015, which is shown here on this slide, would be amended. So in 2015, the board adopted an official plan line for Rio Mesa Boulevard from down near Children's Boulevard to Tesoro Viejo. We're looking at the northern section north of Avenue 12, and in the comments that we received from Caltrans requested that the intersection of Rio Mesa Boulevard and Avenue 12 be shifted farther to the east to avoid potential future ramps associated with State Route 41 off and on ramps on northbound 41. So the project has redesigned Rio Mesa Boulevard north of Avenue 12 to accommodate that request. And the request today is for the board to amend the adopted official plan line for Rio Mesa Boulevard to accommodate that. So this slide in the southern portion of the alignment shows the black dash line is where the currently proposed alignment is, and shifts that to the east from the red line, which was the approved alignment. And then there are also a minor modification to the northern end of the alignment. In resource studies that were conducted, it was determined that adjusting that alignment slightly would help to avoid impacts in that northern portion. And so this slide just shows the two figures that would be part of the resolution to amend the official plan line. The project is subject to the California Environmental Quality Act environmental review requirements. The county originally prepared a draft mitigated negative declaration in 2017, but then subsequently determined that an EIR should be prepared for the project. So in 2019, we issued a notice of preparation and circulated that for a 30-day review and comment period. That was notified in the Madera Tribune, the ability to comment on the scope of the draft EIR. We received comments from the 6 agencies listed here and addressed those comments in the draft EIR. As I mentioned, one of those comments was from Caltrans that requested the relocation of the Avenue 12 intersection, and that was incorporated into the project, then that was moved forward in the draft EIR. The draft EIR was prepared and distributed in February of this year. That includes a detailed description of the project, impact analyses and mitigation measures, and also evaluates project alternatives. The draft EIR analysis did conclude that with implementation of the mitigation measures identified, that all of the potentially significant impacts would be reduced to less than significant. That draft EIR was circulated in February of this year for a 45-day comment period and noticed in the Madera Tribune. And after the comment period, we did receive 3 comment letters on the draft EIR. They actually all came in a few days after the end of the comment period, but we decided that they should be responded to in the final EIR. So we did that. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife requested some clarification on certain mitigation measures, and that was incorporated to the project. The San Joaquin Valley APCD did request some supplemental air quality analysis, and that was done and included in the final EIR. That included a health risk assessment associated with construction emissions, and that concluded that the project would not have a significant health risk impact associated with construction emissions. And that, as I said, that is in the final EIR. The final EIR, as required by CEQA, does include and respond to all of the comments that were received. The draft EIR is incorporated to the final by reference, and we feel that it's complete and adequate for your certification. Along with that, we are recommending that you adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which includes all of the mitigation measures recommended in the EIR and would reduce all of the project's potentially significant impacts to less than significant levels. So the recommendation before you today is to approve a resolution that certifies the EIR, adopts the CEQA findings of fact, and adopts the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, approve a resolution to amend the official plan line as I described, and then authorize Matt to proceed with negotiating agreements necessary to implement the project. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good, thank you. We have a few questions and comments, and we'll start off with Supervisor Frazier.
Yes. How much does the county how many tax dollars are going towards this project?
That's an excellent question, Supervisor Frazier. And this project, and it was detailed a little bit in the presentation there, but there is no money whatsoever from the county, the general fund, going towards the development and construction of this project, nor has there been money expended to get us to where we are. The development of Tesoro Viejo has, this, by the way, I should also mention, is not a requirement of their project. The Board of Supervisors, the state, nobody had conditioned their project to construct this facility. This is a developer coming to the county and requesting an ability to build this facility and roadway, which is in our general plan. It's in the Rio Mesa area plan. It's been on the books since the mid-90s. So there is no dollars being expended at the county level for this project. It is 100% developer funded.
And it would have been something that down the road it would have cost the county to construct it, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Now, I would say, our fee program, this is clearly a regional roadway, and the impact fee, which is paid by new residents, new construction in the 41 corridor, primarily of Riverstone, Tesoro Viejo, right? We are working on an update of that fee program that may include this facility in these portions. But to date, 100% all developer dollars that are writing these checks to get this thing built.
And then the VMT analysis?
Sure, yeah. So if you're speaking with to the letter that we received, I think, I know I received a copy this morning, and Bob, I'll have Bob speak to that. But I will tell you this project was well underway prior to the state mandates and requirements of the VMT, but I'll let Bob speak to the specifics on that.
I think you did receive a letter that expressed some concerns about, I believe it was speaking to air quality issues and VMT related issues. So the draft EIR, or the EIR, includes an analysis of vehicle miles traveled, and the conclusion there is that, one, this project does not generate any additional vehicle trips. It is just a roadway that would serve other development that either has or will in the future go through the environmental review process for those projects. So this road, again, doesn't generate any trips. and it shortens the distance between Avenue 12 and the Avenue 1241 intersection and development within the Tesoro Viejo area by over a mile when you look at, or 30% or so. So without the Rio Mesa Boulevard, it's about a 4.9 mile trip. And with Rio Mesa Boulevard, it's less than 3 miles. So the overall project would have a reduction in VMT and then corresponding air pollutant emissions and greenhouse gas emissions.
Great.
And it would also, on the air quality discussion, right, we envision and it's anticipated that this is going to significantly reduce the idle time ultimately at that 12 and 41 intersection as well by pulling more trips off of the 41 corridor as to act as a bypass, really.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you. You know, they've been talking about this road forever, even back when we were doing the general plan in 93, 4, and 5, whatever it was, set on. It finally come to fruition. I just can't even believe it. I've told so many people over the years we're going to have some relief there. Nobody believed me. Thank you. At that point now. And being on the air board, this is a plus for us. Idle alone, that's what we need, a roundabout there on 12 and 41. It helped a lot. And
I was ready to take your North Fork roundabout.
Yeah, we could just lift it up and move it down there, huh? But anyway, this is a great deal for our air and stuff. Thank you.
Supervisor Rogers.
How many times over the course of the EIR was this project noticed to the public?
As I mentioned, there was a draft mitigated negative declaration in 2017 that was circulated. In 2019, the notice of preparation for the EIR was circulated for a 30-day scoping period, and that was noticed in the Madera Tribune. And then again, in March of this year, the availability of the draft EIR was published in the Madera Tribune.
3 times over the 3 years.
This hearing was also noticed.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes.
This hearing was also
It
noticed.
was also noticed this year, so
before.
that's 4 years, or 4 times. So,
what was the last one? I'm sorry, I didn't get
4 times.
This meeting.
Today's meeting was noticed as well in the Madera Tribune on June 2nd.
June?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And I already know the answer to this, but are you required to notice individuals outside of the scope of the area of work for an EIR? I mean, way outside of the scope?
Yeah, so Supervisor Rogers, on that, I would say if we receive a request, and those requests are to be done annually, so then yes, we are required and we do provide that notice. I would say that section in the law, if quoted, also has a big statement in there that, you know, failure to receive that notice does not invalidate, and don't quote me on that aspect, but does not invalidate any action that's taken, right? It's published in the papers. We post it here. It was posted in the agenda, and we do that on a regular basis. So failure to receive notice does not invalidate the process.
Right. And it was adequately noticed. If someone was paying attention, they would have noticed it.
Okay, there's no other comments from my colleagues. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open it up. And are there any members from the public who would like to comment on this item?
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. This is Madeline Harris from Leadership Council. I'll start off my comments by saying I really appreciate the questions asked relating to the points in our letter that we submitted. I want to underscore that we did ask for notice on July 22nd, 2019, and we were not notified of the scoping meeting that took place in October 2019, to my knowledge. And then we did submit another notice on May 26th, another request for notice on May 26th, 2021, and we were not notified regarding the EIR either. So, you know, relating to what Mr. Trieber shared regarding sending affirmative notices to people who reach out and request them. I just want to underscore that that did not take place. Secondly, the SB 743 analysis of vehicle miles traveled would have been required for the EIR because that's required on all environmental documents that are sent out for public review after July 1st, 2020, which the EIR was. And to say that determining that additional vehicle miles traveled would not be brought due to this project doesn't constitute a sufficient enough analysis on SB 743 because as far as I can see from the air quality section in the EIR, there's no justification provided for why that is the case. And at the end of the day, this is a capacity expanding project, so that analysis does need to be conducted more in depth. And then the third point that I would underscore from our letter is that residents that we work with are pretty frustrated seeing the amount of staff time that's going into the development of new communities in this region of the county, including, all of the ways in which the county is implementing developer funds. And so while we understand that county funds are not being utilized for projects like this, at the end of the day, staff time is going into creating new communities, creating new roadways, and expanding roadways. And that's staff time that's detracted from addressing the needs of existing communities. And so that's the point that we want to highlight. And again, when I report to the community after I see agenda items like this, that there is staff time going into, addressing the needs of new communities, that's a point of frustration for folks. So those are the points that I want to underscore. We do urge the board not to adopt this EIR for these reasons, and thank you for your time.
Very good. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment? This is a public hearing. Anybody else out there in webland? Okay, thank you. We'll bring it back to the board for any further comments or action. We've got Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, I just want to make it real clear to the people out there that, we hire consultants to do this work. We do that all over for every community. And we wouldn't be doing some of this extra work for these poor communities if we didn't have these type of communities paying for our staff to be able to do these kind of projects.
And it's paid for by the developer.
Yeah, paid for by the developers to help. We can do our poor communities like the one I live in. So appreciate projects because right now we've got more monies coming in right now from these developers that we've ever had in this county to help all of our poor districts like mine.
Yeah, I recognize the issues, but this has to stand alone on its own as whether or not it's a well done EIR and project, and I believe that those findings are there. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to accept staff's recommendation for 7B1,
Second.
2, and 3.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our next public hearing, and it's item 7C, and it's hearing to adopt sewer rates for County Service Area 22C, Gunner Ranch West.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director with Public Works. Today we are doing something kind of exciting. We are embarking on a new zone of benefit, Gunner Ranch West, which is CSA 22 Zone C. This is the hearing for their sewer rate. There are multiple actions within this hearing, so I'm just going to walk through each of them individually, and then obviously we'll be here for any questions. So the first one is the actual sewer rate to be set. As of right now, there is one ratepayer out within the district, and that is Valley Children's Hospital. The rate study was done by an outside organization, David Tossick and Associates. We did work with the developer team and MKN, which is the engineer for the developer, and gave them our recommendation for expenses as well. So we did have a lot of communication and a lot of input into this rate. And so the rate being set is $118.65 per equivalent dwelling unit. And
185?
what's that?
185?
118
Oh, 18.
and 65 cents. The hospital and the medical offices, their rate will be set just a little bit differently. It's essentially just a formula based on how many square feet they have. So it'll be a formula of that $118 split between the square footage of the building. So this is a public hearing. There are 5 property owners within the area. We did notice all 5 property owners. At this point in time, we have received no written protests. And so with that, we would recommend the adoption of the sewer rate. That is one item within this hearing. The other item is the adoption of the 2021 budget for the area. Because we are setting the rates as of right now, there is another item on your agenda later on for discussion, which would be the acquisition of the wastewater treatment plant. With that acquisition of the wastewater treatment plant, we will have expenses that come with that. And so we do have a budget put together for essentially the last 2 weeks of this fiscal year. And so you have that for you for adoption. The 2021-22 budget was in with the special district budgets that were adopted last Monday, June 7th. The last item for your consideration is a deposit agreement with Valley Children's Hospital. Because we will have expenses, we are setting up a new fund for the area. And again, this being brand new, there is no cash to put into that fund. So Valley Children's has agreed to put in a deposit of $90,000 into the fund to essentially cash flow those expenses. The agreement does state how we will reimburse Valley Children's. Most likely it will be a credit to their account 12 months after the initial deposit was made, once we start getting a little more cash flow into the door. So those are the 3 items before you today, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Any comments?
My questions were before on the cash flow, and I know you worked that out far before that, so I thought that was a good way to do that.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, it's just, when I got elected, I said would never, ever have any kind of special district in Madera County again, because they've done such a piss poor job developing back then. You guys now do this like it should be done. They're covered. Dollars will be there forever. We're going to have to keep coming back to board to say, hey, we need another $1 million to do this, another $1 million to do that. So it's nice to be able to do that. I wish we could go back and do all 140 something special districts and have them bring up to like this kind of standards. So
Yeah.
Thank you, staff, and the consultants that helped us on this too.
And the rate that is set is, it's a very good rate. It does have 2 different forms of a reserve fund, one for capital and infrastructure type fixes, and the other one is essentially an O&M reserve. So you are building a cash balance for emergency repairs, and you are also putting away money for capital infrastructure.
We've never had.
No.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other comments or questions from my colleagues, this is a public hearing. Are there any comments from the public regarding this item?
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jesse Hudgens. I'm here representing Valley Children's Hospital. I wanted just to take a moment and thank the board for its support of these action items that you're hearing today. It represents a major milestone for Gunner Ranch West and for the development of our medical campus. And so your support's very critical to our future development. And also want to take time to thank county staff. We've worked countless hours with Matt, Andrea, Dale, Jared. I mean, there's just been a number of people involved in this process, and it's been quite an effort, and we're glad to finally be at this point. Are there any questions that I might answer?
So Ted didn't come up.
His name is Tim.
All right, very good.
Thank you very much.
All right, appreciate it. Are there any other comments from the public? If not, Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah, I just also thought it was important to thank Richard Gunner and his staff. I sent around a while ago the video of how it was put together and the state-of-the-art facility that was built to now come into our department to run. I mean, it really is I never thought, you had told me 8 years ago I would geek out over looking at wastewater treatment facilities, but now, it's really cool to see what goes into that, and the facility is a very nice facility, and I think Richard Gunner and his team should be commended for that as well.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, the public hearing is closed, and I'll accept a motion for action.
Move to approve 7C 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Now we'll move back to the consent calendar. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. First of all, are there any items that a supervisor would like to have considered for further comment?
C,
C?
D, I, excuse me, M,
M?
P, Q, A, B.
M, Q, and A, B.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other items? Are there any items from the, well, I actually will work on these and then we'll call for items from the public. So the first item would be C.
Item C. I tried to add up these dollars and they don't, every paragraph has different amounts. First one says it's $3,422 or $27.70 a year, and then it adds up to $9,700, and then plus $219,000 to do this, $228,000. But on the next paragraph it says it's $3,500 a month, $3,100 a month. But then third one says $32,603, like it says in the first paragraph, but the first two don't match.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Gary Svanda, Madera County Assessor. I believe Supervisor Wheeler, what you're looking at is a combination of two things. Number one, the monthly amount that we pay for the basic service overall for our megabyte for all three offices
Right.
is $18,265.54, equating to $219, $186.48 annually. The three other amounts that you're looking at are individual items for additional programs requested by my office and the treasurer's office, and those amounts are one-time yearly amounts.
Right.
So
But I
when-
understood. If you look in the first paragraph, it's got 324.2770, 3069 even, 3260.03. But in the next paragraph it says 3,500 even, 3,100 even, 3260.03. Got two different numbers, so which one are we paying?
Well, I believe the first under the recommended actions lists the correct amounts.
And we need to change those other ones.
You need to change the other one.
All I asked. I mean, when people look at that and see, so that means, to me, it looks like you're paying those three plus those other two, and maybe the other one, third one, I don't know, they're the same amount.
No, I believe the discussion summarizes the amounts in total.
Well, they can summarize it, but they need to put their exact amount.
We will make those corrections.
It looks like to me, you know what it looks like to me? Somebody rounded it off. I mean, 3422 don't round off to 3,500 to me, and 3069 don't round off to 3,100. That's what you got in.
We will make those corrections.
So is that, so those are,
Yes,
what, those are wrong?
yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
What is stated under recommended actions in your backup are the correct amounts.
The next paragraph in the same
Well,
backup
the first
says-
paragraph.
says
Let me qualify.
that number. Right?
Yes, and
That's
they're
all I
correct
ask,
in the
just-
summary in the back.
That we have the numbers right.
We will make those corrections.
Thank you. Okay, what was my next?
Item I.
I just, on this one, I just wondered who's been doing that job? Item I.
Supervisor Wheeler, Elba Gomez with Human Resources. Sarah could not come in today, but this is just a renewal of our contract that we have. Every 3 years, we're supposed to renew the services that we provide to the Savannah departments. And child support services specifically requires one for the state, for us to state how much we're getting reimbursed from their department. So that way, when she gets audited, she has a contract in place. So this is the second contract that we're doing now. We're just renewing it.
Renewing it from
Yep.
that. Okay, so it's been being done by the same company.
So it's being done between child support services and us. And it's the requirement by the state of, the child support services department with the state of California. They require us to have a contract between both our departments.
We never had that before?
Yeah, we did. We had another one, but this is a renewal, so we have to review it every 3 years.
Oh, okay. Well, it acted like to me, when I read it, it sounded like it was just new thing that they were adding on to one of the petitions. Got it right, Joe? Got it right. Okay. Item M. On that, is Scott Marianne Say as the direct contact. We need to change that. I don't think she works here now.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. I believe she put the item in the queue before she retired, but then she left. She briefed us on the item because we would finish it off once it gets into the board.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, we just got to get that.
Yes, sir.
So that contact's not on there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Item
Next one,
Q.
P.
Okay, P.
Item P, right here. I printed that out. And bottom of that page, I printed out right here. It's got permanent employees as of 5/31/2021, 1,312. Yet just 2 weeks ago, a week and a half, whenever it was, we had 1,528. What's the difference? And we're talking about not doing extra help again, but we got 12 new extra helps on this page. Whatever it is, the new ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 new ones.
So the 1,500 includes the extra help, the number that we gave last month.
Right.
This 1,312, we can only give you permanent employees that are
Okay,
permanent with
you
the.
told us that we had about 50 to 60.
15
extra
about
help, so
1,500.
50 and 60, 13, 12 don't add up to 15, 28.
So the 1,312 is permanent employees only. When we gave you that number, it included all of the extra help employees that the departments have. So
So we have more than 200, almost 200 extra help.
Yes, about that. And that includes.
That's not what you guys told us, and I got it wrote down. I should have dug it out and brought it because I knew that was going to be coming on. So that ain't the number you guys told us. So moving on. On item Q. IT. Is this, the original contract, I couldn't find it in there, Tanya, in the backup. So I don't know how much the original contract was. I know this is extending it for the 53,000. So what was the original contract, and they didn't get finished? What's the difference between this and what the original contract was?
Good morning, Tanya Say, Chief Information Officer. I'm sorry, I may have neglected to put the backup contract in the paperwork.
Yeah.
It was approved May 19th and the total contract at that time was $53,150. The contract remains that exact amount of $53,150. What had happened was it was supposed to be completed by December 31st, 2020.
Right, yeah.
We're at a 90% completion rate now. We needed to obviously pay the vendor, but we wanted to make sure that we had some residual left to make sure that they completed the remaining 10% tasks. So that's why we went to the vendor and requested that the contract be revised so that we could withhold that one portion of the payment until they
10%.
completed the remaining services.
Seen that part of it, but it didn't explain it to me clear enough for my ignorance, maybe, that was the original contract. So that's perfect. I'd have no problem with that. I just didn't know what the original was, so I thought maybe if the original was, say, 10,000 or 100,000, that this was the add-on. This is just actually the same contract, same amount of money, that provision.
And the missing link may have been if I forgot to upload the original It's there? Okay.
It is in there? Well, I seen that, but I thought that was the one. It is. My mistake. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Okay.
And AB?
AB. Yeah. I got that. Is that the rare one? I got a rare one. I don't know. This is, oh, this is for that easement. And what I didn't understand, Jared, maybe this was, they done this in 1979. I looked at all those deeds, and we didn't. I thought we always accepted the offers of dedication, but we never accept them to do in our road program.
Yeah.
So how
Good
does
morning, Supervisor Wheeler, members of the board. Jared with Public Works. So there's a couple different ways that offer of dedications get conveyed to the county. It can be through a map, it can be through deeds and such. This particular one was done through a map, but most of the time the county doesn't always, the board does not always take action to accept those offers because we don't know for sure if we ever are actually going to use them. And so, but they're irrevocable offers so that we have the opportunity at any time to come and utilize and take those and basically accept them if we need them. So in this case, this section of Avenue 11 is related to the Ranchos consolidation project, as Matt mentioned earlier. There will be a water line that's put down from Valley Teen Ranch down on Avenue 11.
We know that.
So
yeah.
yeah.
So even though they dedicated that, we couldn't do that without doing this further action?
Correct, because you have to accept that offer in order to be able to utilize it for the things that that offer conveys to the county. So you might recall maybe a couple months ago, we did a similar thing for Indian Springs Road to essentially complete that connection for the Oakhurst Midtown connector. There was a section of that road that was offered also that we
It was
accepted.
already offered before too.
It was previously offered and we accepted
I
that
missed that.
dedication, yeah.
Okay, so like on the Flying O Ranch, when we offered those, are they accepted, or do we got to do something like this in the future if we do any?
I
public works?
probably would have to look that up and see if it was accepted or not.
Because I thought they were accepted, just not accepted in the road maintenance.
Yeah, there's two things that would have to happen. One, accept the offer of dedication, and then if it is going to go in the maintained mileage, that is a separate action that has
That's
to
a
happen.
separate action.
Yes.
So this is a third action. I mean, a third way of doing dedication.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And I mean, essentially, when we have offers, if they're not accepted, the county has to accept it to be able to utilize it. But that doesn't mean that it goes into the maintained mileage system because that is a separate
Right,
action.
exactly.
So in this
I
case, we're
know
not
that.
accepting this for maintained mileage, just for the use of the right of way.
So, as long as that map was done, they couldn't change those right-of-ways.
Correct.
That map was accepted with those right-of-ways in it.
Yes. So it basically reserves it at whichever point the county decides to come in and
Like
utilize
today.
it. Yes.
Got educated today. Thank you.
All right, very good. If there's no other questions from my colleagues,
Move to approve.
I'll open it up for the public to see if
Second.
there are any items that the public would like to comment on.
Good morning again, supervisors. This is Madeline from Leadership Council again. I wanted to make a comment and ask a question about item 5AG, I believe it is, regarding the cash flow loan for the Fairmead well. I noticed when looking through the agenda packet that it looks like there is some interest on this cash flow loan. And I wanted to urge the board not to apply interest to this, since my understanding is that it will just be reimbursed by the state for funding that's already been secured or approved. So to avoid, driving the community water system into debt further, we just want to ensure that there isn't any interest on this loan. And when I reviewed this with Fairmead residents yesterday, they also wanted me to ask just for a clear record of transfers of funds relating to the water system in the future. So those were the two things I wanted to highlight. So if we could just not have any interest on this loan, that's what residents wanted me to ask for. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. Appreciate comment. Is there any other public comment?
Yeah, I'd like to know if is there a finance charge to that or interest on it? Self?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Wheeler, Matt Treber, Chief of Development Services. So this is a requirement of the Treasury, right? We have to pay that. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to turn around and see about having the state fund this through that grant project. So I'm sure with Madeline's help and assistance and our perseverance there on, we'll get that, we will be pushing for the state to fund that. It has accrued approximately $12,000 in the interest collected for that. So it is a big issue, that the state, we have to cash flow these things, and that costs time and money, but we will be pushing on the state to see if we can't get that funded through the state project.
Very good. Thank you.
Chairman, I just thought that people should know we have to do that. We have no choice.
Excellent. Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor for the consent calendar. Roll call vote.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. We'll move back to discussion items and move to item 6D. This would be housing for the Harvest Expansion Program.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Yes.
I need to recuse myself from this item since I sit as a board member on the Central Valley Opportunity Center Board of Directors.
Okay, very good. Thank
You
you.
paid for it? Turn your button on.
Button, Deborah.
Still not on, yeah.
Okay.
Green light.
There.
Now I got to repeat all that, huh?
Yes.
Good
Who
morning.
are
We
you?
have to wait for Letty to get out of the room anyway, so.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair and Board, for acknowledging today that we're bringing this item for you for the Housing for Harvest. This is a program that we're hoping to assist folks that are impacted by COVID and even in their own homes, to provide them some financial assistance, all the different things they would need in order to be able to stay at their home and keep infection from going out to spread through our community. So this is state funded, no county dollars are associated with it. We are retaining a portion of it in terms of any administrative expenses that we have towards it. The rest of it is actually being outsourced to CVOC, who's experienced in doing this work and knows that community very well. And I will also need to note too that we are not going to expend this number. The number is really, really huge. Throughout the state, it's been a problem. They've got less than 200 families that have been helped through this program statewide. We've had 5 referrals so far. But if we have the families, we have the funds, and we have the authority to provide these services with your approval.
Very good. Are there any questions of Deborah?
Great, I seen the difference there, from the 927 down to 788, so
Just in
we
case.
appreciate that.
Okay. Are there any members of the public who'd like to comment on this item? Hearing and seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Frazier,
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers,
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0.
Very good. Thank you. Next item. Well, you can walk slow till Letty gets back in here.
Oh, that's right. There you go.
Okay.
We voted it down since you weren't here.
This is discussion and consideration of approval of Madera County SB 823 Juvenile Justice Realignment Block Grant pursuant to Welfare and Institution Codes.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Chris Childers, your Chief Probation Officer. And I have with me Deputy Chief Jose Pantoja, who oversees operations Juvenile Hall and the Correctional Academy. I'm bringing an item today for presentation for consideration of approval for the receipt of allocations of funds for the Juvenile Justice Realignment Grant Plan. It's the decentralization of the state juvenile justice facilities of the most serious and violent offenders that are ages 14 to 25. Those are being transferred to the local jurisdictions to be supervised and housed and treated locally within the juvenile halls and the correctional academies or camps that are locally placed throughout the state of California. With that, there's a total amount of $1.7 million that will be allocated over the next 3 fiscal years to the county, and those allocated funds are to be considered for approval by you as a board, and they will be directed to the care, treatment, and services that would be provided for the youth that are in our program through the realignment. So right now we have currently 5 youth who are in Division of Juvenile Justice. Those youth are committed there over the past 5 years. We really don't have a lot of youth that are committed to the Division of Juvenile Justice. A lot of that has to do with our correctional camp, or what we used to call our old boot camp. It takes a lot of the high-risk youth. Fortunately for Madera County, is low on the spectrum of commitments. However, it is a challenge for us to be able to house these youth, but we are more than up for the challenge. And before you, I believe you have a short PowerPoint that basic overview of the SB 823, which is Senate Bill 823 that was signed by Governor Newsom in September of 2020. That bill and the grant funds that go with it is also detailed in the DJJ, which we call Division of Juvenile Justice Realignment Plan. That is also in the backup information I hope that you have. It's an 11-page document that overviews the actual services and plans that was put together by the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council Subcommittee over a period of 5 or 6 meetings. It was a group effort. I think there was 15 members on that council, and we came up with a plan, and that should be before you too for consideration. If there's any questions with the plan or with the PowerPoint, the backup information, I'm here to answer any questions. There is a typo on page 11 of the plan. It's the Division of Juvenile Justice Plan. It says, I believe, fiscal year, second bullet point, fiscal year 1, and then the third bullet point says fiscal year 1. That should say, respectively, the second bullet point, fiscal year 2, and then the third bullet point should say fiscal year 3. Other than that, I'll be more than happy to field any questions.
Thank you for answering Tom's questions ahead of time.
I had
Very good. Any questions of Chris regarding this item? If not, we'll open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public that have any questions?
Move to
Move to
approve.
approve.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Letty got the
Rogers
motion.
and Gonzalez. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Me too.
Didn't matter.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you, Chris and
Thank you for your
Jose.
time.
Thank you.
Moving on to 6F, this is a presentation by PG&E regarding Public Safety Power Shutoff Program.
Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee. Morning.
We're live. There we go.
There we are.
Well, good. Still morning. Good morning, supervisors,
Morning.
Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. I'm Nathan Alonzo. I am here on behalf of PG&E, representing beautiful Madera County on behalf of our government affairs team. Just wanted to come and give a quick update on our public safety power shutoff and community wildfire safety program in 2021. Well, we saw that the 2020 season ended up being pretty busy for us, and well, Supervisor Wheeler, I got to spend a lot of time with you and Bobby up in the mountains. So
Yep.
hopefully we are.
He does a heck of a job for us, I'll tell you.
Hopefully we are well and prepared for this year. So just some general safety, as in all PG&E attended and sponsored meetings. We are coming out of a lot of the COVID regs, but let's make sure that we're still being safe. And with the weather, let's make sure that we're hydrating properly and taking care of the animals that we are in charge of, making sure that they're fed and watered properly. So our most important responsibility to our communities is the safety of our customers. Here we continue to see across California a longer and more intense wildfire season. On this slide, we're sharing some of the tools that we use when assessing wildfire risk in our communities, the Fire Threat Map of California. This map was developed by the CPUC in coordination with CAL FIRE, the Forest Service, and it's based on input from the electric utilities, and it helps to have coordination with our communications partners and local public safety agencies and our OES partners here, like Joey Wilder, who works pretty closely with Darren Mills, our public safety specialist. So this helps us plan for potential wildfires and focus our prevention efforts. As you can see, nearly 1/3 of the electric lines that provide our customers power throughout the state are now in high fire threat areas. On this slide, you can see the high fire threat map here from Madera County. We can see more specifically and in more detail the map for the county, which is, as you can see, in the orange and red areas, which is mostly encompassing Supervisor Wheeler's district in more detail there at the link below at cpuc.gov/fire threat maps. And just like a Supreme Court hearing, if you guys have any questions at any time, feel free to jump in and ask your question. We can make this a good dialogue. So we're continuing to evolve the CWSP program, or Community Wildfire Safety Program, in order to strengthen and improve our electric system for the safety of our customers. The focus areas for CWSP this upcoming year include supporting customers and communities before, during, and after a PSPS event by providing more resources and working year-round and nonstop to improve the program. We're focused on listening to customers, learning from better data and technology, and providing more resources than ever before, during, and after the events. We are meeting and exceeding our state vegetation safety standards with our enhanced vegetation management program, which I think I sent a copy of our upcoming project list and some of that information over to Jay, Tom, and Bobby over the course of the last week. And this is done to manage trees and other vegetation located near power lines that could cause a wildfire or power outage. We are continuing to build a safer and more resilient system by hardening lines and installing and sectionalizing devices that help to reduce the size of public safety power shutoff events. As we saw in 2020, the size and duration of those events was a lot smaller and shorter than it was in 2019 when we had more widespread events. And we are testing and using new tools and technologies to pinpoint how to best prevent and respond to the risk of wildfires. Last week in Mariposa and Briceburg, we unveiled what's called a remote grid, and this is something that we're going to be looking at expanding throughout our service territory. So we are doing everything that we can in order to the best of our abilities, reduce wildfire risk in high fire threat areas, which here in Madera County, we've got some of those areas. So what's new in 2021? This year, we are building on improvements made last year in 2020 and continuing to reduce wildfire risk through hardening the electrical grid through our system hardening work on 180 electric circuit miles, addressing vegetation on 1,800 high-risk electric circuit miles through our EVM program, and tracking weather conditions and monitoring for wildfires by installing an additional 300 weather stations and an additional 135 HD cameras throughout the service territory. We are working to reduce PSPS impacts additionally by installing an additional 275 sectionalizing devices and transmission switches to limit the number of customers impacted by events, continuing to improve our weather modeling and refining our forecasting through 5-day forecast data, and keeping the power on in areas impacted by PSPS events by preparing 10 substations with temp gens, temporary generation stations, and constructing 5 additional microgrids to power key community resources. So in a situation like that, our public safety specialists coordinate with county OES and public safety partners to identify what those resources in any given community are. So that way we can prioritize those during a PSPS event on keeping those powered or bringing in temp gen behind that. We are also supporting customers and communities by providing more resources before, during, and after events. We're sending customer notifications in 16 languages and providing new address alerts, which allow customers and non-customers to sign up to receive the PSPS alerts about any address that they choose. So if you have a loved one or a friend that lives in a rural area or lives in an area that you suspect could be affected by PSPS events, you can sign up to receive PSPS notifications about their address, so that way once you receive those, you can coordinate with that loved one to see what kind of resources or support they're going to need. We are providing approximately 5,000 batteries system-wide to all low-income medical baseline customers in high fire threat areas who are interested in those. And then we are targeting additional ADA-accessible community resource center sites, which can provide additional PSPS support during events to severely impacted communities and customers. And we are coordinating and providing meal replacement options for customers in 46 counties. And we are expanding our partnership with community-based organizations to better support customers with access and functional needs. On the community benefit organization side of it, here in Madera County, I know that we coordinate pretty closely and we support the food bank. Customers have the option of going online to file a claim for any food loss through our claims process, and then also coordinating with the food bank to get emergency food replacement if they have a lot of food spoilage right after a PSPS event. So the Madera County overview, and looking side by side on where we're at through 2020 and what our plan is for 2021. We are looking at some system hardening, some additional sectionalizing devices, some EVM program progress, some additional community resource sites, additional weather stations, and additional high-definition cameras. We have 8 line miles planned for 2021 as far as system hardening go. We plan on installing 12 additional sectionalizing devices. We have 92 line miles planned for EVM. On community resource centers, off the top of my head, I know that we have Yosemite High School. I know that we have another CRC in North Fork, but I know that we are also working on a couple of other sites up in your district supervisor to be able to stand up for additional support should we have large geographic PSPS events that go on. So system hardening and sectionalizing here within the county. On this slide, it highlights the locations where we're going to be conducting some system hardening projects and sectionalizing projects for the year. In system hardening, this is how we describe the installation of equipment designed and built to be more resilient during severe weather and wildfire risk. Part of this work includes replacing bare power lines with larger covered lines to reduce the risk of outages caused by vegetation, birds and animals, and to eliminate the risk of bare power lines coming into contact with one another. There is nothing more annoying than a power outage and then you hear that somebody let go of a birthday balloon or something and it got caught in the line. Then all of a sudden everybody's afternoon's ruined because there went the power line. We are looking at sectionalizing to limit the number of customers impacted during an event. We're continuing to install sectionalizing devices and automating some of the existing devices that we have to make them more resilient. These devices separate the electrical grid into small parts, as many of us know, allowing to de-energize targeted areas during severe weather and fire conditions and to reduce the total number of customers out during an event. Please note that the plan is subject to change and may reprioritize projects and not all complete all miles indicated in 2021. And going to weather stations here within the county. On this slide, you'll see the total weather stations and high definition cameras to date in the county and our 2021 target. So our weather stations are designed to further improve forecasting capabilities, and we're continuing to build our own network of weather stations to better predict and respond to severe weather threats here, specifically within the county. We're adding 300 new weather stations system-wide to complete our long-term goal of 1,300 total, or one station every 20 line miles in high fire threat areas. You or our customers and the public can see real-time information from weather stations at pgne.com/weather. And on HD cameras, we're installing the 135 additional HD cameras in high fire threat areas this year as we continue to build towards our goal of 600 total system-wide by 2022. When we reach our 2022 goal, we will have the ability to see more than 90% of the high fire risk areas that we serve throughout the state. Our Wildfire Safety Operations Center, our WSOC as we call it, staff use the cameras to monitor and respond to wildfires. Fire agencies and other utilities can also go on and can control the cameras for situational awareness or during emergency operations. These cameras are part of the alert wildfire system used by personnel at the Bureau of Land Management, the U.S. Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and local departments here and in 4 states. Customers can see these cameras are located, where these cameras are located, and a recent image from the camera at the same website at pgne.com/weather. In looking at our EVM work here within the county, so we currently inspect through our vegetation management program 100,000 miles of overhead power lines across our service territory. This includes inspecting some places multiple times a year. We prune or cut down more than 1 million trees annually to maintain clearance from power lines. And we cut down dead, diseased, dying, or defective trees, which are primarily in areas affected by drought and bark beetle, which is something that we know about intimately here within the county. In addition, our routine veg management work, our enhanced vegetation management program, they both address vegetation that poses a high potential for wildfire risk in high fire threat areas. This work that we're currently conducting exceeds the state standards for minimum clearance around power lines, including pruning, overhanging limbs and branches above power lines. This includes additional inspections beyond routine patrols to cut down dead, diseased, or dying or defective trees. And here in 2021, we're improving the veg management program efforts by deploying LIDAR ground-based technology to review and record completed veg management work, improving our methods for verifying veg management work and inspections, and creating a centralized team of arborists at PG&E to identify and address issues in real time. Well, what is a power safety power shutoff? I think that we all are very familiar with a PSPS event at this point. So it's for the safety of our customers and communities. When high winds can cause tree branches and debris to contact energized electric lines and damage our equipment and cause a wildfire. As a result, we may need to turn off power during a severe weather storm or storm conditions to help prevent wildfires. I want to emphasize that these events are always weather-driven and are only called upon when extreme weather and wildfire risk are present. Because electricity can travel several miles from a generation source to get to your home or business, you may be affected by a PSPS event if the electrical infrastructure that serves you is affected by high winds and severe weather, even if the event is miles away. So the conditions that could lead to a PSPS event: low humidity levels generally below 30%, which we're at now. Forecasted high winds above 20 miles an hour and gusts above 30 to 40. A red flag warning by the National Weather Service out of Hanford. Condition of drought materials on the ground or near lines. And on the ground real-time observations by our team internally and by our public safety partners. So when our customer is going to be notified, at least 2 days before power is turned off, we will enter into what we call a watch posture. A day later, before de-energization, we will send a second notification. Another notification will go off just before we turn off power when we are now in a warning posture. Customers will receive notifications during a PSPS event and continually until power is turned back on. And those of you who live in areas that are affected by PSPS events know that, by golly, don't we try to get a hold of you and send you notifications.
Yep.
By phone, email, text, and any other which way that we can. So like we talked about earlier, there are address alerts through pg&e.com/address alerts that you could sign up for your home, the home of a friend or loved one, and for any of the other addresses that you may need. So customer preparedness and resources. So we are partnering with 250 plus community-based organizations system-wide, a number of them here in Madera County. We're sponsoring food replacement here in Madera County through the Madera County Food Bank. System-wide, we are collaborating with the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers that provides emergency planning, portable backup power, and transportation for those that need it. At our community resource centers, we provide portable backup batteries. We have, which I hope that more folks get to learn more about, our generator rebate program that provides reimbursement up to a certain amount for folks who qualify, who go and get an approved device for the generator rebate program. And like we said earlier, we're providing information to our customers in 16 different languages. And there on the right-hand side of the screen are some of the organizations here within the county that we collaborate with, like the CFILC, and then some of the in-language media partners that we use to get the word out whenever we have a PSPS event forecasted and ongoing. So these are just some more informational tools to use to prepare. So the best website to always go to is pg&e.com/wildfire safety. And then we have the address alerts. You can also get news about the weather. You can get some tips on things to have ready for a PSPS event or an emergency through our Safety Action Center. Our resources in languages other than English, some things for the kiddos to help them understand and get ready for an emergency, and then a backup power resources page is also available to our customers. So that is it for a formal presentation, but I am available to answer any.
Yes, Supervisor
questions.
Wheeler.
Yeah, I can't thank him enough, and PG&E got a winner here. I can't tell you, I call him on weekends, nights, what have you. He always answers, and he always gets the job done, whatever it might be. There's been a lot of different things. But the main thing I really like what they're working on now is those sectionalized areas. So like I say the fire's not near our Yosemite High School. They get all these switches and stuff in, they can leave that on, turn everything else off, so they can find areas like that that really, really benefit, like the Mariposa Hospital. I read this first article in the Mariposa Gazette about that, and they can go around that, keep it going, keep the electric there while everything else around is off. So thank PG&E for being really proactive on this, because it's so important.
And that hospital is extremely important because it's the first medical attention that you get from the time you're in the park and in that part of the foothills until you get down here, or you're able to get somebody over to CRMC or out to Merced. So it's extremely important to that community.
Very good. Any other comments? If not, are there any comments from the public?
Good morning again, Deborah Martinez, Department of Social Services. The only thing I was going to comment on in terms of talking about our elders, the in-home supportive services of clients, they're contacted every time we know there's an incident. Our adult protective services, we have a caseload that we have to manage, and so we will contact them as well. We also have CalFresh, a disaster relief replacement meals. That means the meals go back on the funds go back on their EBT card. So we really would like to even increase our partnership and be listed as a partner, because I think a little bit more coordination and communication would be great between the two agencies. But I agree, I know that a lot of times we call and they say, yes, we know, which is great. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any other comments from members of the public? If not, thank you very much, Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank
Good
you
seeing
all.
All right, very good. The next item is item 6G. It's discussion and consideration adopt resolution approving increases to solid waste collection rates.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Jared Carter, Public Works. Have a short presentation to go through with you just on the solid waste rate adjustments. As you're aware, our contracts with our franchise haulers have provisions to adjust rates annually, beginning in the fiscal year. And we did talk about earlier in the year about postponing these due to SB 1383. However, with the changes in that and the delay of that, we need to move forward with the implementation of these rate adjustments. So I believe you have a copy of the presentation in front of you there. But again, the rate adjustments are annual adjustments that occur based on the provisions of the contract, primarily based on the consumer price index and also the fuel index. And really, these are just to cover the cost of what it costs to do business. In 2019, the board authorized the CPI adjustments to the rates at the disposable facilities, which is Norfolk and Fairmead. And there was also an approval of a 1.47% recycling surcharge due to the downturn and the complications in the recycling market. So these rates would become, as I mentioned, effective July 1st. So here we have the Red Rock rates or the Valley franchise area, and I've included just the residential rates here, but their full rate schedule is included in the board packet for all services. So you can see for the Valley area, there's anywhere from 18 cents. Oops, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong page. Anywhere from $1.72 in zone 1 up to $3 increase in zone 3, the PUD. And the zone 3 is a 3-card service, so that's why there's a higher cost on that. And then in the mountain area, we have just one residential rate, and you can see there that that increase is $4.87. So one thing to note is that the contract timeframes for the consumer price index and fuel index for each of the contracts is different. The Valley franchise is adjusted based on a February to February change, and the mountain franchise is from March to March. That is also something that we're planning to correct and get them on the same schedule as we do the contract amendments moving forward. The next chart is the rates at the Fairmead landfill. So these would be based on the consumer price index adjustments that were authorized by the board's resolution. You can see that they're fairly minor, the largest being about 99 cents. And then at the transfer station, again, same thing, adjustments based on the CPI, was approved by resolution. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah, I just have a question. I know we bring it back annually, but like with our special districts where we adopt the CPI increases, those don't come back every single year. Why does this one come back every single year?
Supervisor, I think that I don't know, it's more of a ratification of the rates and just to make sure that the board is in agreement with the calculations and the rate adjustments that have happened.
If I may, Chairman.
Probably because of the fluctuation of the fuel costs, mostly.
But that has nothing, that's not a subjective thing for us to either agree with or disagree with. It's very objective. We chose the CPI index to tie it to, so it's nothing that we can say one way or the other that we agree with it or not and go do our own index and try and see what the fuel cost is.
If I may, Supervisor Frazier, excellent question. Really regarding outside of the recycling surcharge, it's simply just being open and informational and providing that to the residents. It is not a requirement, right? It's already in their contracts. They already do that. It's more of a presentation and providing the board and the public with the rate increases. And there has been historically a lot of review and concern, right, with solid waste, and so we just want to make sure we're upfront and open and informing the residents. But this is a subscription based, so this is, those residents are notified of that. The haulers have notified them of the haulers increases in that, and so this is more just.
Because it's not an informational. I mean, it's to adopt a resolution. I mean, there is action that is taken every single year, even though the action we originally took was to build it in so that we don't get behind. Just trying to.
Yeah, the one thing that is not in their contracts, which is the recycling surcharge rate, right? That is a continuation of previous board action item that requires the board approval of this, is that recycling surcharge.
Okay.
Very good. Are there any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Hearing and seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. The next item is our Treasurer and Tax Collector Department. It's the first reading to adopt an ordinance.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. Jacqueline Torres with the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office. And before you, we just bring some updated fees and establishing new fees. So the ordinance already exists. We're just adding to it. And in the packet in front of you, you can see that we are increasing 7 existing fees and adding 12 new fees. So through the course of business, it is necessary to increase and establish fees to align with the increase in administrative costs as they relate to the function and process of fees to account for the services we provide. And with that, I am available for any questions.
Very good. Are there any questions?
So the new fees, are they new functions or is it
No, the new fees actually, oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. The new fees are actually processes that we already do as part of our annual tax sale. However, during this last year, we're really able to evaluate and do the cost study and figure out how much time it's actually taking us to perform these functions and recoup those costs through the actual tax sale process.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
I move to waive the first reading and set the second reading for July 6, 2021.
I'll second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, and say hi to Grandma for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Try it out.
Very good.
The first one.
Moving on to I, 6I, it's the Maintenance District Cape Seal Project.
Finally.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Trieber, Chief of Development Services. With me here is Mr. Carter as well. So we do have, I wanted to at least, typically we would have, we have these on consent, but this is a big dollar item, and I wanted to provide the board an opportunity, so I'm going to hopefully get this thing to work. Just have a table here, and really shows those districts and segments of roadways and the total project cost there. This is an annual item. Mr. Toller does work with a lot of those districts that have money available to do some work, and so this is just our annual Cape Seal item, and we're doing Cape Seals. Jared's here because he's the expert on Cape Seals, but this also, there are Measure T funds that are incorporated into this, so that is a big aspect, right, on these things, that without Measure T, we would not be able to do nearly the amount of roadways that we've got in here. So with that, we're available for any questions.
Very good. Are there any questions? I just wanted to make a comment. I noticed that there's only one treatment that is taking place west of Highway 99, and it's a place called Lavina. I don't know, 0.4 miles, just saying. Okay, if there's no comments from my colleagues, are there any comments from the members of the public? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion for
Move
action.
to approve. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Just real quick, would it be, if it wasn't without Measure T funds, would we be a quarter of that much knocked off or half?
I think you're probably looking at about 25%
Yeah, that's what I figured.
of that funding, and I would add for next year on our Cape Seal projects, and I worked with Chief of Staff Melissa Silva. We decided we're going to get Jared a cape to wear in here and be a little action figure hero. So we'll get that ready for next year.
Outstanding. Very good. He'll look great. So moving on to item J. This is the Gunner Ranch West wastewater treatment plant item.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Soldati, Deputy Director with Public Works. So the items before you, there are 4 different documents for your consideration and approval today. All of these documents have to deal with the actual infrastructure that will be transferred from the developer/developers within Gunner Ranch West to CSA 22C. So the first item is the actual dedication and easements, grant deeds, all of the actual infrastructure that will be coming over to CSA 22C. We're looking at all the physical assets, the plant, and all the additional parts. The developer has actually given us a supply of spare parts. So that's very nice. We're starting off on absolutely the right foot here in this area by having essentially stock items right there on the shelf from the developer. So all of that will be transferred over to us. All of their contracts, plans, specs, all of their warranties that have not been, ran out at this point in time, all of that will be transferred to us. All of the real property will be transferred, and the sewer mains will be transferred. All of these items will be transferred via 2 different bills of sale. One bill of sale is from the Gunner, the developer of Gunner, and then the other is from Valley Children's Hospital. We have 1 grant deed and 2 easement deeds. The actual land that we are taking, that we will be receiving, is the land that the wastewater treatment plant is on. We are also receiving the well that supplies the wastewater treatment plant water, and then the easements for the sewer mains that are actually not within the right-of-way. So that is the first item for your consideration and approval. The second item is a contract with a company called Fluid Resource Management. They are actually operating the plant at this point in time. They are a member of the developer team, and they do have insight into the plant. They are essentially a sister company of the manufacturer of the plant. So they are well versed in operating that plant. They have been part of the construction of and now the operation and maintenance. We are going into contract with them for a maximum of 6 months, and that is because we are in need of hiring additional licensed utility workers to operate that plant and to also be able to serve the special districts that we have at this point in time. Like our Chief of Development Services mentioned earlier this morning, summer is here, and we do have failures throughout our special districts. And so we want to make sure that we have adequate staff to keep all of our districts up to par. And so the reason for this contract is just to get us the additional bodies, and then we will discontinue the contract with FRM. The third item for you is the acquisition and reimbursement agreement. This agreement is between the county and the developers, that the developers will get paid back at some point in time for the infrastructure that they are conveying to the CSA. The funds to reimburse them will come from a CFD and different forms of an infrastructure special tax, or developer will receive a credit for the cost of the infrastructure that has been conveyed to us. The other items, that CFD is actually in the works right now and will come before your board for approval most likely towards the end of the year. So we should be able to see that CFD and all the documents related to before you guys by the end of the calendar year. The other thing that the reimbursement agreement and the acquisition and reimbursement agreement does is it sets forth a list of what we are calling fix-it items. There has been wear and tear on the plant already, and there have been a couple of items that our staff have asked for, and the developer has graciously agreed to making a couple of improvements for us. So there is an extended warranty that the developer will be giving us once the fix-it list items are approved, and that is also part of the acquisition and reimbursement agreement. The last item for your review and approval is essentially the resolution that takes us from phase 1 of Gunner Ranch West into phase 2 of development. The acquisition of the wastewater treatment plant is essentially the last piece of the phase 1 development. There were multiple requirements in place through the area plan, the specific plan, and the development agreement. And we are in agreement that all of those requirements have been met and that the developers can move on to phase 2. Some of those requirements were the acquisition of the wastewater treatment plant, the creation of Zone C, and with the creation of Zone C, Zone B will be dissolved. Currently, Valley Children's Hospital is within Zone B, and Zone C will essentially take over and continue the services that Zone B provided. Valley Children's has paid their fair share for roadway improvements, and the short-term fire servicing phasing has also been met. So those were some of the main requirements that needed to be done before allowing the developers to go into phase 2. And so that final resolution essentially is saying that we all agree that that the developers can move forward with phase 2. So with that, we are here for any questions.
Supervisor Frazier.
Tom, so we added one, but we also got rid of one, so it's a net zero still. This is just so important to our region, for the developer, and for Valley Children's to be able to go into this phase 2 and continue to provide such wonderful service to our region, to our residents. And so this is very exciting to get to this point. And I know it's, for years talking and having to just keep that 100,000 extra square feet as it was like the only thing that you could do within phase 1. And So I'm so excited to be here at this point to be able to get into phase two for just a wonderful partner in the region and a wonderful amenity, especially as someone with 4 kids, to know that that's in our backyard is just immeasurable. So I'd like to move approval after a public comment.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, that this is really important. I agree with Brett. What after 6 months on that contract with those people, fluid resource management, what if we haven't got the staff yet to do it? Can we extend that? Is it extendable contract?
Yeah, so we can
Month or
extend,
something?
we can extend the contract. Our current staff have been out at the plant. They have been training. So we do have staff that do know how to operate and maintain the plant and the site. They just also have other duties. And so we're just trying to make sure that we've got full coverage for all of the districts. But yes, we could absolutely.
We got to make sure, because that's all we need is 1 or 2 break down and can't maintain them. So without, we haven't got enough staff. So
Yes.
it
Yeah,
would be
so,
paid for by the special district, right?
yes, sir.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions from my colleagues? If not, we'll open up to the public. Is there any public comment?
Jared looked like he got something.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah.
This is good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Dave Tipton. I'm speaking today both on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Gunner and Gunner Ranch Inc., as well as my capacity as a chair of the CSA 22C Municipal Advisory Council. And I wanted to report to the board that on June 10th, the CSA 22C MAC met and unanimously recommended to the Board of Supervisors approval of the dedication of the Gunner Ranch West wastewater treatment plant. And so I can be available to answer any questions in that regard. And I also wanted to extend the thanks of Mr. and Mrs. Gunner to the county staff for all their hard work, particularly Andrea and Matt and Jared and Phil and everyone else in Public Works that made sure that this was a great situation for everyone. So thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dave.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. Jared. I also just wanted to recognize all the work Andrea did on this. She definitely lifted a lot of this and took a lot of this on, mostly because we were all busy doing a lot of other things too. So this is a huge deal, and I know she was an integral part in the whole Sumner Hill thing as well, or excuse me, not Sumner Hill, Rolling Hills process. So she's becoming the expert in disposing of and forming or taking on new districts. So just wanted to recognize and thank her for that.
Disposing of.
Great job. Outstanding. All right. If there's no other comment from the public, we do have a motion for approval. I'll accept a second.
A second.
Oh, no, Betty got it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes, and I just wanted to say it's another of those projects that we've got it that's fully vetted, be there forever, and we don't have to be worrying about how we're gonna pay for it. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Gunner, and all his consultants and stuff has done.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank
If
you.
I may, Mr. Chairman, just briefly, I'd be remiss if I didn't also step in and thank, this was something that's more than 26 years in the making to get us to where we are, and we would not be here without Andrea Saldati. And I also saw his name up on the screen there, Mr. Dale Bacigalupi. Dale has been, there's words do not do enough to tell the kind of asset that he brought every day to this process to get us to where we are. So a big thank you and kudos to the entire county council team, and especially Dale Bacigalupi there, and as well as Gunner and Children. So very excited and just wanted to say those brief words there.
Man, it
Thank
sounds
you.
like we need to have a party. Everybody's contributed 26 years, and Andrea Soldati Day, June 15th. Man,
We
Teamwork, boss.
actually coined today as we were going through the process as Gunner Day because we had so many items. So today is officially Gunner Day at the board for all of those that were working on this project. So
all right. Well, let the celebration begin.
thank you guys.
Hey, boss.
Excellent. Yes.
Boss, teamwork.
Hey, man, it's all good. It's important to celebrate these things. Let's move on to 8A. And this is we're looking at consider a letter of support for SB 619.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, this is a letter that Public Works staff has drafted in response to your request to move forward with this. I think Jared's going to speak on that.
Yeah, good afternoon again, Jared with Public Works. So this letter is the support letter that we drafted based on the direction of the board at our last discussion on June 1st. Since then we have been working, continuing to work with RCRC and CSAC and those folks. They actually did take a look at this letter and felt it was very well written in terms of supporting what they're after and what they're working on. And I know that we had a chance to get an update during Supervisor Wheeler's town hall the other night on what's happening with this, but things are moving forward. They're definitely trying to get some additional language into this bill to help provide some flexibility for the local agencies. So appreciate any support and approval of the recommendation, approval of the letter of support.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments from the public regarding this?
We, the public, say
Potential action.
hallelujah.
Yes, Dan Metz here in Oakhurst. I have a couple of comments.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Let's see. First of all, I want to thank you, supervisors, for your leadership in pursuing relief from SB 1383 and support for SB 619. First, just a quick comment. I had to download the entire agenda package to get 4 pages of this letter. I'm not sure if you can do anything about that. It took 20 minutes or 30 minutes for me to download some 1,300 pages, and I only needed 4. So I don't know if there's any way you can prepare a table of contents and zero in on specific items in the package. Maybe I'm just not savvy on how to do that, but that would certainly be helpful.
I don't know if you can or not, Dan. This is Tom, but I figured it out on my laptop. I even printed out a couple of items, so I don't know if you could do that or not. I did it, and I'm the boy. I can barely make these things work, so I tell you.
Well, anyhow, just a comment, and I'll look into doing that next time.
Call Bobby.
I call Bobby, yeah. All right. Let's see. On the letter, I noticed that it is written as Senate. The subject line is Senate Bill 619 support. And I think there is a category called support with amendments. I notice in the letter that the 4th paragraph, it says, we are hopeful that factors will be considered. It seems to me that it might be a good idea to include some specifics, such as some of the items like exemptions for ADA and the elderly or the disabled from the mandate. And if we could get some things like that in the letter, in addition to provisions regarding low density tracks and that sort of thing. Is there an option to modify this letter a little bit to include some of those specifics?
Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, Chairman, members of the board, thank you for your comments, Mr. Metz. It's probably at the pleasure of the board whether we want to modify this. What I can tell you is that this letter has been reviewed by RCRC, and they feel that it's sufficient to what we're trying to accomplish. There is a concern that if there's too much stuff put in this and that it's too detailed, it could potentially be
thrown out. And that's
taken the wrong
happened,
way.
yeah.
So I would say that there's caution on whether we want to get too specific in this letter. But I will tell you that the RCRC folks working on this are very well aware of the specific things that local agencies are facing with respect to some of the things that Mr. Metz mentioned. So,
Thank you.
Can you give me some more specifics, Jared? I would appreciate hearing more of the specifics that they are entertaining. Is this the time to do that question? To ask that question?
I think probably Jared wouldn't mind, say, getting on the line with you and spending some time, because typically our public comment on these items are no more than 3 minutes. And so it sounds like this might be more of an offline type of conversation to get into more detail.
Yeah.
All right, that would be fine. I see his phone number here in the letter. I can call that number, I suppose.
Right.
We can talk.
Call 311 and ask for him.
and I have your contact information, Mr. Metz, so I can definitely reach out.
Okay, well, thank you, Jared. Appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you. Well, we do have a motion on the floor. We've heard from the public. We have a motion and a second, so I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Let's move on. Before we go back to closed session, let's move on to supervisor and staff reports. I'll start to my left, Supervisor Wheeler.
Just the flag day we did the other day. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes, I attended their rescue mission open house yesterday, and I just want to thank all the staff from the county, the city, and the other partner agencies that were there, and especially the rescue mission. It was a great event. And also this Saturday, there is a Juneteenth celebration happening over at Courthouse Park. They've changed the time to 9 a.m. and we will be honoring some folks there. Mr. Lee Evans, who was a legendary Hall of Famer. And so if you can withstand the heat, please join us Saturday, 9 a.m. at Courthouse Park.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Rogers.
Yes, I'm attending RCRC today, first time in person in a year and a half, so headed there right after this meeting.
Fantastic. And Supervisor Frazier.
I have my coffee and conversation tomorrow at 8:30. As well, I just wanted to congratulate. Now I think we've got all the graduates through now, so just wanted to congratulate the class of 2021 for getting through this weird time.
Thank you. Mr. Varney, anything to comment on?
Last week on Wednesday, I was able to attend the swearing in of the incoming president of the California State Sheriff's Association, Sheriff Dean Grouden from Lawson County, and was also able to prove that the Tom Wheeler fan club reaches throughout the state because Dean's mother grew up in North Fork at the Circle W Ranch where Tom worked for her dad, which would be Dean's grandfather. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, I just I forgot about our How dinner tonight. We're fact going back in person again, so that's really nice. And honoring one woman at a time. So great deal fundraiser for our people that's in need, whether they got cancer or lost a loved one, what have you. And I had a great town hall last Thursday night that Don and one has talked about. Really attended and had some great presenters, and thank all the staff that spent their time for 2 hours plus.
Thank you. And Council Garza.
No report, Chairman. Thank you.
Clerk of the Board.
Nothing to report. Thanks.
Okay.
I got a motion. Let's continue the closed session to next meeting. I got a lunch date.
You don't need. It's up to the chair. You
How
don't need a
long will it
motion to do that.
Well, I think it's going to be short.
I think it's going to be like
think so?
5 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're well into it, so let's go ahead and move into that, and then it shouldn't take long. Thank you.
Okay. Someone's got to catch the airplane, not me.
right, thank you. Take care. Ready? Good afternoon, everybody. Didn't seem like it. Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everybody. We're reporting out from closed session. Council Garza, is there anything to report?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd like to report that Supervisor Rogers left closed session at 12:42 p.m. and Supervisor Wheeler left closed session at 12:53 p.m. for both for prior engagements on their calendar. Other than that, there are no reportable actions from your closed session.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.